Hey peeps, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, it's Chanel Christie. Please do hit the subscribe button down below. So today I'm here to talk to you about protein overload. This is something I never thought I would be talking about because up until about a week and a half ago, I did not know protein overload was a thing. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it affected your hair. I knew your hair was made of protein. I knew you had to do protein treatment. I know that protein is good for your body, especially when you're trying to lose weight, but the idea of having too much protein in your hair was never something that I ever thought about. And it's interesting because I probably should have thought about that, because I guess what your body can have too much of, your hair can also have too much of, like water. So it does make sense, but you know, you don't really think about it. So the reason I'm talking to you about protein overload really is because it's something that affected me. And not only is it something that affected me, but I think it's something that I could have probably avoided if I had known that it existed. It's been just over a week. It happened to me Friday before last. So Friday last week was 1 week, so it's currently Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 1 week and 3 days. My mental maths is so terrible. It's been 1 week and 3 days since I've had protein overload, and I'm recovering from it. You can see from my hair, it's coming along quite well. I was finally able to get my hair in a twist, and it didn't feel like I was jerking out my hair from my scalp, so that was amazing. So yeah, but what is protein overload and how do you know that you have it? So first thing you need to know is that protein is very good for your hair. It helps to strengthen and repair your hair. That's what protein treatment does. It strengthens, it repairs your hair, it fills in the gaps along your cuticles, which is amazing, you know, especially for high porosity girls. You know, if you have high porosity hair and water goes into your hair and it comes out straight away, then filling in those gaps can kind of like stop the water going in, because the water, your strands aren't as porous anymore. The problem with that is that if you have low porosity hair where water is already hard to go in, and it's like it doesn't come out as quickly, but it's hard to go in, and then you fill in those gaps, you can end up in protein overload a lot quicker than someone who has high porosity hair, which is why I think a lot that they say, since I've been watching all these videos, a lot of low porosity girls claim to have like protein sensitive hair, and it's basically because if you fill in the gaps, then it's hard for moisture to get into your hair. And so what that means is that if it's hard for moisture to get into your hair, it's hard for your hair to be moisturized. And then if you have too much protein and not enough moisture, then that's how you end up in protein overload. So it's too extreme in a hair environment. It's having too much water, which is where your hair is over moisturized, and that's where you end up in hydro fatigue. Oh my god, I finally said that right. Normally I'm like hydro. I feel proud of myself. So you end up in hydro fatigue, and then the next extreme is where you have too much protein and you end up in protein overload. So what you really want to be is in the middle somewhere with a nice balance, and that doesn't mean that you need 50% protein and 50% moisture. Usually you need more moisture than protein. Anyhow, it's usually like around a 70-30 percent, just because our hair gets dry. Like, you know, as 4C girls especially, our hair gets really dry really fast, so you need to constantly put in water in your hair. Everybody needs protein. Everyone needs a protein treatment because everyone's hair is damaged. Our hair is damaged by the environment, it's damaged by the weather, it's damaged by heat, it's damaged by harsh condition. When we go to other countries and the environment is different, our hair is damaged by that as well. So you know, we all need a bit of a pick-me-up protein treatment to strengthen our hair and repair our hair, but we might not necessarily need, everybody doesn't need the same amount of protein, and I think it's important to know that. So if you see everyone doing a protein treatment every 2 weeks, don't just do a protein treatment every 2 weeks. Like, just know your hair, know what type of hair you have, know you know, if how damaged your hair is, if your hair is feeling like, protein also like makes your hair stiff. So if your hair is feeling like over moisturized or floppy or soft, or you know, it's like super stretchy and not elastic, then yeah, you might need a protein treatment. But yeah, do check your own hair, like because if I just like known how you end up in protein overload, girl. And I'm telling you, protein overload is difficult to manage once you get it. That's not to say you can't recover from it. You can recover. Living proof over here, guys. But it is definitely hard to manage, and for some people, depending on how bad the damage is, it could take 4 weeks, and for others it could take 6 months. And if you don't want your hair to be out of action for 6 months, just don't do it. Just don't do it. So I actually end up in protein overload, if you watch my last video, because of coconut oil. So what I didn't realize is coconut oil has a high affinity to protein, which was news to me. Let me not talk forever. Let me just tell you 5 signs to know if you have protein overload and if it's something that you've been struggling with. I know some of you out here are saying, but I don't do protein treatment that much, or I only do them once a month, and that's amazing. But what we also need to remember or realize as well is that a lot of our hair products that we use on a daily basis also has protein in them. So if I just show you a couple of my hair products, this isn't all my collection, but because your girl was not about to get her whole life out, but this is the Cantu Repair Cream, which is a leave-in conditioner. So if I wash my hair, I would like leave this in if I use the LOC method. This has protein in there. This is a Pantene cream that I actually really like. It works for my hair. It's a leave-in cream, and this has protein in there. I'm trying this at the minute, or I was trying this before I went into protein overload. It's the Garnier hair mask, and it has protein in there. This is like a leave-in spray that I use because I have fine hair, which is also something I recently discovered. Discovering so many things about my hair. It's good. It helps you to manage your hair a lot better. This is a strength and repair cream, and this also has protein in there. So imagine, like, this is something I would use in my hair daily. So I would spray this in my hair daily. So every day I'm spraying this in my hair is every day I'm putting protein in my hair, and I didn't even realize it. And you know, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, protein is like the 7th ingredients in this. So it's actually quite high up the list. It's not like, oh, it's all the way down where it won't like affect anything. Like it's quite high up the list. So if I'm putting this in my hair, I'm putting protein. So there's a lot of things that you do when you do the LOC method, when you put your leave-in in and all these things, where you're constantly putting protein in your hair. You shampoo your hair, you condition your hair, you're using protein, then you're doing a protein treatment on top of that. And so there's a lot of protein going into your hair on a daily basis that you might not realize. So that can lead you into protein overload. So if you are thinking like, oh, do I have protein overload? Let me just tell you 5 signs that you can keep in mind or check and they might be signs to say, you know what, like maybe you do have protein overload. Obviously some of y'all, I know some of y'all, your hair just be dry, and if that's the case, whether you have protein overload or your hair just dry, in both cases your hair is gonna need moisture. So moisturize your hair, okay? Just moisturize your hair, guys. So the first sign that you have protein overload is if your hair is dry, brittle, and feels like straw. So I had this, and guys, I don't mean like your hair is dry and brittle. I mean your hair is literally breaking off constantly, and your hair is not moisturized. So you're doing LOC, LCO, LB, LMO, whatever method you're doing to moisturize your hair, and you just feel that your hair is still dry, then you might have protein overload. And to be fair, that dryness is not the kind of dryness you get when you take your braids out, or the kind of dryness that you get when you wash your hair and you haven't put in your leave-in conditioner yet. When your hair is so dry that it literally feels like straw, and it feels like there's no elasticity, that's the kind of dryness I'm talking about. It's like extreme dryness. Number 2, hair feels rough. You know, again, it feels straw-like. It might be really frizzy. So when I had protein overload, my hair was frizzy, but that's because it was dry. But it wasn't the kind of frizziness, like my hair is always frizzy, as you can see. It's frizzy, but it's still like soft and moisturized and frizzy. It's not that kind of soft and moisturized and frizzy. It's where it's so frizzy, like literally, like it looks like your hair has just had an electric shock, and all your frizz are just standing up, and they're just rough. When you feel them, like they're just rough. And that's especially important for you girls who have fine hair like me, because my hair is usually so fine that I can't even feel my strands. So when your hair gets so rough that you can literally feel it between your fingers and it feels rough, then you know, girl, you might have protein overload. Number 3 is excess shedding. So because your hair is dry, brittle, feels like straw, non-elastic, your hair will start to shed. My hair was literally falling out in clumps. For some people, your hair might not fall out in clumps, but if you just take a strand of your hair and stretch it, it will just snap in two. That didn't happen to me. My strands didn't snap, but because it was falling out my head so much, like, I know wagwan, like, I didn't need anyone to tell me, like, yeah. So if you feel that your hair is shedding, snapping, breaking, you might have protein overload. Number 4 is that your hair is lifeless. So it doesn't have elasticity. So one problem I had was that my hair didn't snap back. So like if I stretched it, it wouldn't snap back. So normally my hair, you stretch it, it snap back, you stretch it, it snap back. My hair was no longer snapping back. So my hair was straight, which it not normally is. Like I have 4C, like that little tiny like curl thing, but it wouldn't snap back. It was just like straight. It looks like I had a bad relaxer, you know, where your ends are fuzzy but then your hair is straight. It was ridiculous. And number 5 is that your hair will lack shine. So our hair naturally, even if our hair isn't shiny, it has like a natural sheen. But when you have protein overload, that sheen just goes. Your hair will be looking dull, it will be looking dry, it'll be looking like if you ain't put oil in it for like a million years. There's no sheen, there's no shine. It's just dull and lifeless. So if you have I wouldn't even say one of these signs. If you have one of these signs, you know, like check your hair. But if you have like 3 or 4 of these signs, then definitely I would say, you know, really do check your hair and make sure that protein overload isn't something that's impacting your hair, because your hair will break off. And your hair will, like, if you're trying to retain length, girl, you ain't gonna retain no length if your hair breaking off like that. And even if your hair isn't breaking off, if you have protein overload and you keep putting protein into your hair, then you're basically aggravating the damage, so that when you do try to recover from protein overload, it's going to take you a lot longer to recover because your hair is a lot more damaged. So it's better for you to just check your hair and deal with the situation now while it's not so bad, so that you can fix whatever problems you need to fix. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, again, please like, thumbs up and subscribe. I will be making another video soon to tell you guys how I recovered from protein overload. My hair is about 80% back to normal now, and I'm 100% sure that within this week, within next week, I would say that my hair will probably be like 100% back on point, and I'm looking forward to it. So please, if you guys would like to know, or anybody's dealing with protein overload, drop your questions below. I will try my best to help you, and I'll see you guys later on in the week. Bye.